Most of us are married or involved in a close relationship which began for all the wrong reasons you have so correctly described. Can such a marriage or relationship ever be made into a really positive force? You poor chaps. Most of us are married or involved in a close relationship which began with all the wrong reasons you have correctly described. Can such a marriage or relationship be ever made into a really positive force? Now, how do we tackle this question? We went to the question the other day into what is relationship? What does it mean to be related to another? You may be related very closely, intimately, physically. But are we ever related psychologically, inwardly? Not romantically, sentimentally, but the feeling of being related. The word relation means to be in contact, to have a sense of wholeness with another. Not as separate entities, then coming together and feeling whole, but the very relationship brings about this quality, this feeling of not being separate. This is really quite an important question because most of our lives are so terribly isolated, insulated, carefully structured so that we are not in our psychology disturbed. And such relationship will inevitably bring about conflict, disturbance, and all the neurotic behavior that one has. So first let's be clear together what we mean by relationship. Not only the meaning of that word, the verbal meaning, but the significance that lies behind the word, behind the two people. What does it mean to be related? Are we ever related in the deep, profound sense of that word? Can there be a relationship of that kind, deep, undisturbed like the depth of the sea? Can there be a relationship if each one of us is pursuing his own particular path, particular desire, particular ambition, and so on? Can there be such relationship if these things exist? If we say, how can they not exist? Is it not necessary for each one of us to fulfill, each one of us to flower with each other, whatever that may be. That sense of separateness exists. If we each of us say we are helping each other to flower, to grow, to fulfill, to be happy together, then one is still maintaining the isolated spirit. Now, why does the mind or the brain, the human entity, always cling to separatism? See, please, this is a very, very serious question. Why human beings throughout history have maintained this sense of isolation, insulation, separatism, division. You are a Catholic, I'm a Protestant. You belong to that group and he belongs to that group. I put on a purple robe, yellow robe, or a garland around my with something or other, and we maintain this. And we talk about relationship, love, and all the rest of it. Now, why? Please, we are cooperating, investigating together. Why do we do this? Is it either conscious, deliberate, or unconscious? Tradition, our education, the whole religious structure maintains that you are separate. Separate soul, etc., etc. Or is it that thought in itself is separative? You understand? I think I am separate from you. I think my behavior must be separate from you. Because otherwise there is the fear that we'll become automatic, zombies, replicating each other. Is thought the cause of this separatism in life? Please investigate together in this. Thought has separated the world into nationalities. Right? You are British, another is a German, I am French, you are Russian, and so on. This division is created by thought. And thought assumes that in this separatism, in this division, there is security. Belonging to a commune, belonging to the same group, believing in the same guru, believing in the same clothes that one wears according to the edicts of the guru, one feels secure. At least the illusion of being secure. And so we are asking, is the pleasurable desire, which is the movement of thought also, that separates us, right? That is thought ever complete? whole. Because thought is based on knowledge, which is vast accumulated experience of man, either in the scientific, technological world or psychologically. Right? We have accumulated a great deal of knowledge, outwardly and inwardly. And thought is the outcome of that knowledge. Thought has memory, knowledge, experience, right? So knowledge can never be complete. Would you agree? About anything, about God, about nirvana, about heaven, about science, anything. So knowledge must always go with the shadow of ignorance. Please see this fact together. So when thought enters into the field of relationship, it must create a division, because thought itself is fragmented. Thought itself is limited. Right? If this is clear to all of us, I am not explaining it, you are discovering it for yourself. Then, what place has knowledge in relationship? Please, this is a serious question. It isn't just a casual, argumentative proposition. This is an inquiry into what place has knowledge, experience, accumulated memories in relationship. Please answer this yourself, don't look at me. If I say, I know my wife, or other form of intimate relationship, I've already put that person into the framework of my knowledge about her or him. So my knowledge becomes the divisive process. I've lived with my wife, husband, girl, or whatever it is, and I've accumulated information. I've remembered the painful statement she has made, or one has made. There is this whole building up of memory as an image which interferes in my relationship with another. Right? Please observe this in oneself. And she is doing exactly the same thing. So we are asking, what place has knowledge in relationship? Is knowledge love? You see your voice. I may know my wife, the way she looks, the way she behaves, certain habits, and so on. That's fairly obvious. But why should I say, I know her or him? When I say I know, I've already limited my relationship. I don't think you understand. I've already created a block, a barrier between myself and her. Does that mean in my relationship to her, I become irresponsible? You understand my question? If I say I don't know you basically, am I irresponsible? Or I have become extraordinarily sensitive. If I may use that open, that's the wrong word. I'm vulnerable. I have no sense of division, no barrier. So, if I have that quality of mind, brain, or feeling that in relationship it's a flowering, it's a movement, it's not a static state. It's a living thing. You can't put it in a cage and say, that's it. Don't move from there. Then we can begin to ask, what is marriage? Right? Or not marriage. One may live with another sexually, companionship, holding hands, talking, all the rest of it. And go to a registrar or go through a Catholic or Protestant ceremony, and I'm tied together. Only God, let God put it aside, which means absolutely nothing. Just a form of tradition. Or I may live with another without being married. With one in certain conditions, I've taken a vow of responsibility. In the other, I don't. And with one, I'm legally married, separation, divorce becomes rather difficult. With the other, it's fairly simple. We say goodbye and walk off in different directions. And that's what's happening more and more in the world. We are not condemning either. Please, we're just looking at this whole problem with children, responsibility, and the feeling of this tremendous burden of children. And there, legally, you are tied. In the other, you are not. You may have children, but there is always this open door. Now, is all relationship in both these cases a mere form of attraction, biological responses on both sides, the curiosity, the sense of wanting to be with another, which may be the outcome of unconscious fear of loneliness, the tradition which has established this habit. Now, in both cases, it can become a habit, right? And in both cases, there is the fear of losing, possessing, exploiting each other sexually, and all the rest of it follows. Now, in both cases, what is important? Please, we are talking about together. I'm not telling you what is or what is not. What is important, necessary in both cases? Responsibility is necessary, is essential, right? I'm responsible for the people I live with. I'm responsible, not only with my wife, but I'm responsible for what is happening in the world. I'm responsible to see that people are not killed. I'm responsible. I'm responsible to see that there is no violence. Right? So, is my responsibility just for the one and for my family, for my children, which has been the tradition, and the family in the West is disappearing more and more, whereas in the East, the family is still the center. Tremendously important. For the family, they will do anything. Even though they are distant cousins, they will keep together, help each other, pull wires for each other. But here it's gradually disappearing altogether. So, seeing all this, the responsibility as it exists in marriage, the irresponsibility as it exists in the other, living with somebody, we are irresponsible because if we have children, our responsibility is to see that they are properly educated, not sent off to some kind of, get rid of them as quickly as possible. To see that, so when you go into this problem, it becomes extraordinarily complex and extraordinarily vital, because if I have children, if I love them as I do, and I feel responsible, I'm responsible for the whole of their life. And they must be responsible for me for the whole of their life. I must see that they are properly educated, not butchered in a war. So all that's implied in this question. And this question, in investigating profoundly, unless one has this quality of love, everything is just besides the point. If I have no love for my wife, that is, I am not pursuing my own self-centered activity, and she is not too, but if I am and she is not, then the trouble begins. That is, if I I'm attempting not to be self-centered, not to be isolated, to have this feeling of deep affection in which there is no attachment, no possession, not the pursuit of pleasure. And my wife feels the opposite, quite different. Then we have a totally different problem. You understand me? Then the problem is, what shall I do? Just leave her, run away, divorce? I may have to. She insists something. You follow this? It's not a question to be answered by few statements, but it requires a great deal of inward inquiry into this on both parts. And in that inquiry, in exploring, if there is no love, then there is no intelligent action. Where there is love, it has its own intelligence, its own responsibility. Right? Can you go on to the next question? Not we are bored with that. But this is really, relationship is one of the most extraordinary things in life. To be totally, completely related with another, without any sense of me interfering with it, without any sense of the self, with all its egotistic pursuits, doesn't enter into that relation.